Welcome and good morning. It is very fitting that we have this session here this morning in Los Angeles. The greater Southern California area is the center of small business in America. And what led to the foundation of the Milken Institute was the outgrowth of the Watts riots in 1965 and the understanding that access to capital was a civil right based on your ability, not who your parents were, your religion, your race, where you grew up, etc. And it led to the creation in the United States of many financial markets to create opportunities for entrepreneurs, with the center of that small business creativity being here in the greater Southern California area. 32 years ago, a young economics professor, Muhammad Yunus, lent $27 of his own money to a group of poor craftsmen in Bangladesh. To increase the impact of that small amount, he volunteered to serve as a guarantor on a larger loan from a traditional bank. That was a small start to a very big idea. The Grameen Bank, whose mission to issue collateral-free microloans to the poor, has led to one of the most successful efforts to reduce poverty the world has ever known. Today, the bank has nearly 2,500 branches throughout Bangladesh and 7.3 million borrowers, earning Dr. Yunus and the bank a 2006 Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to alleviate global poverty. Muhammad Yunus has been described as a visionary who improved the lives of millions of people in his native Bangladesh. But the ideas have spread throughout the world. Business Week called him one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. The Nobel Committee described him as a leader who managed to translate visions into practical action for the benefit of millions of people, not only in Bangladesh, but in many countries around the world. His first book, Banker to the Poor, described the power of microcredit and the battle against global poverty. In his latest book, which I think many of you have, Creating a World Without Poverty, Professor Yunus takes his vision of solving poverty to a new level, the emergence of what he calls social businesses that will harness the power of free markets. The Milken Institute was founded on the concept of human capital, social capital, and the multiplier effect of access to financial technology. His powerful work, the belief that millions of small people with their millions of small pursuits can add up to create the world's greatest development wonder, is one of the things that made America great. Millions of entrepreneurs who came here for a better life for themselves and a family. We are honored to have him speak to us this morning, ladies and gentlemen, and also to listen to his ideas on how to provide microcredit to the people of America. Nobel laureate Muhammad Yunus.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Grameen Bank is known to you, many of you. We have been working now 31 years, started in a small way, as Michael was mentioning, in one village with $27 going to 42 people. And we wanted to continue with that, so went to the bank to see if bank will lend the money instead of me giving money from my pocket. And the bank refused, and it became a struggle with me and the bank, and continued for several months. Finally resolved it by offering myself as a guarantor to take the money from the bank and give it to people. And that was the beginning. And then it grew, and we tried to make it more permanent by creating an institution out of it, because the banks were not very eager to go on supporting this, carrying on this program. So we thought maybe we should create a separate bank for that. And we did. It was not easy, but it took a lot of our efforts to convince the regulators and others to allow us to set up a bank. And we became a bank in 1983, called it Grameen Bank or Village Bank, and then kept on expanding. And today it has 7.5 million borrowers with 97% women. And the bank is owned by the borrowers, and it serves the poor to help create more income for them, change their life. And we address various dimensions of their life, not just give the loan. The way we designed it, it almost looks like the kind of mirror image of the conventional banks, because conventional banks try to reach out to the rich. We reversed it. We made it happen to go to the poor. Conventional banks feel comfortable working with the men. We concentrated on women and the poorest women. And that's how 97% our borrowers women. We don't see any bank in the world where 97% women customers are there. So that's the way we are. And they took their basic principle that the more you have, the more you can get. It's kind of principle they follow, that they are following to go to the rich people, give them more money so that they can become rich. They go to the big corporations so that they can become bigger. We reverse that. We are always looking for the smaller and the smallest. So we designed it to make sure we reach out to the smallest people, the poorest people. And our principle is the poorer you are, more attention you get. And if you are the poorest, if you have absolutely nothing, you get the highest priority. So again, is a reversal of not only just giving tiny loans, is a whole reversal of the system. We don't have any collateral, where the entire banking, the global banking is done on the basis of collateral. You have to give something before I give you something. We don't have that because poor people has nothing to give you, so you have to give to them. So we, right from the beginning, we discarded the whole idea of collateral. Everybody said without collateral, banking cannot be done. And I used to joke with them who would insist on that, particularly bankers. I said, you are telling us that just because a human being doesn't have wings, it cannot fly. You have to have wings to fly. But that's not how human beings are. Human beings defy all kinds of such things. They are flying, and they're flying at a mind-boggling speed. So why can't we get out of this collateral idea and create a banking which doesn't depend on collateral? And we created that. So there is no collateral. There is no guarantee. Nobody guarantees a loan for each other or something, or some external person or institution guaranteeing the loan. There is no guarantee. And above all, there is no lawyers in our system. And that has been very helpful. So we don't go to the court for everything. So that we just forget about the papers, the green piece of paper, the yellow piece of paper, or the signed, sealed, notarized. We don't have that. It still works, and that's the beauty of it. Repayment of microcredit program, such as Grameen Bank, has always been very high, near 100%, 98, 99%. And people initially used to say maybe it works in Bangladesh, it will not be the same in other countries because our people are not as honest as your people are. I said the people are people. They are given opportunity, they become dishonest. But their natural tendency is to remain honest. But the things around us are so exciting, so enticing, they make you dishonest. So as long as you keep it honest, they remain honest. They feel comfortable with being honest. And it will be same everywhere. Today, when idea has spread all over the world, you have the same result. No collateral, no guarantee, no lawyers, still the repayment is extremely high. Wherever it went, whether it's in Africa, whether Asia or Latin America or Europe, wherever it is, same result. So we didn't have that. While people ask me about the subprime, the surprise, look at the subprime, what happened? I said, how do you lend money to the poorest people? Because look at the risky market. When the banks went there, what a collapse that happened to that. I said, we don't feel our market, the market that we cater, the people that we lend to, is any risky business. We feel very comfortable because our repayment has been very good, and there is no reason why we should be concerned about our loan repayment. And so look at Bangladesh. Bangladesh is a country which always comes in the newspaper for a flood, and devastating flood. People are dying. People are losing everything. Or it comes in the newspaper for a devastating cyclone, which we had just now. And in that country, with the floods and the cyclones and all the devastation, we run our bank without collateral, without guarantee, and we had an extremely high repayment and moving forward with that. So I would say if the subprime has created crisis, it's not created by the people. It's created by the institutions who did that. Didn't know how to do business with people. And probably there are other reasons why they push those things beyond the limits that they could do. And that's what the crisis is all about. It's not about something wrong with lending money to these people. So that's where we are. And today, all along, we have encouraged our borrowers to send their children to school. And that is one of our focus. And we continue to do that. And as a result, we have all the children in the school. And we want to make sure a whole new generation comes out of these families of 7.5 million families. These children then go in the higher education, and Grameen Bank gives entire financing for higher education, whatever they need for higher education, their tuition, their maintenance, their books, and their computers, or whatever. It's entirely financed by Grameen Bank. As a result, thousands and thousands of children now going into professional schools like medical schools, engineering schools. Right now, there are over 21,000 students at that level of education. So you see another new generation coming out of these totally literate families who are and repeating the same old cycle of poverty. So we want to break that cycle. So say this is the last generation which will have the cycle, and the cycle will end here. A new generation will begin their life and move on. We strongly felt that information technology can do wonder to the poor people. If we can bring information technology to the poorest people in a way they can handle, they can benefit, they can use it for changing their life, because it is a very powerful technology. It never happened in the human history, but for the first time it happened to the human history. Let's make use of it. So I was trying to find an opportunity to make use of it. Luckily, we got one opportunity to bring cell phones in the villages of Bangladesh. We created a company called Grameenphone, a cell phone company, and started spreading the telecommunication service all over Bangladesh. Telephone used to be a very privileged possession of the rich people, and it's always concentrated in the cities. You remember the telephone stories only 10, 20 years back, 15 years back. In many countries, you have to have a big bribe to get a telephone, or your waiting period to get a telephone line would be years and years. In Bangladesh, average waiting period to get a telephone connection with all kinds of political connection and everything would be somewhere between 3 years to 4 years. That's the kind of telephone situation back in 1995. So we created this company and started selling this telephone service. And our idea was to bring this telephone to the poor women in Bangladesh. So what we did, we started giving loans to the Grameen borrowers, the women, to buy herself a cell phone and then sell the service of the phone in the village. So it became her business. Anybody who needs to make a call has to come to her because she is the only one who has a telephone in the village. So she became a very important social phenomenon in the village, besides being a very important business for her. Because one of the telephone lady told me, I was asking how much money you make, etc., etc. She said, more than that, no wedding takes place around the villages around me without me invited in this wedding. So I thought that kind of put it the power she gained. A poor woman who never even approached for finding out how she is doing. Now she becomes a focal point of the cluster of villages around her. That had a very good impact in the villages. Now, of course, telephone service has expanded all over Bangladesh, and Grameenphone has become the largest cell phone company in the country. Also, in a way, is the largest company in the country, so big. So this is one area that now these telephones are internet-enabled telephones, so it's very easy to now bring internet services into the villages. We are trying to find a way how we can use internet services for many, many other services, which is possible. So it opens up a whole new door for everything. Bangladesh is a country where energy shortage is at the top. 70% of the population of Bangladesh have no access to electricity. So one of the ideas that we are toying around, why don't we try out with the renewable energy? So we created a company called Grameen Shakti or Grameen Energy to bring renewable energy, and our first effort was solar energy. And we did that, and solar panels are very expensive item. Everybody said Bangladesh is too poor to use solar energy for the villages because we are addressing the villages of Bangladesh. But we succeeded. People started responding to us because the way we kind of brought in a package, find it very easy to pay, very easy to become owners of a solar home system. So today, the middle of last year, around July, we crossed the 100,000 solar home system in Bangladesh through Grameen Shakti, Grameen Energy. And our goal is to reach 1 million solar homes in the next 4 years. And people are responding very well. And one challenge I put up to the rest of the world that today the solar panel cost is $3 per watt. And that is staying there for a long time. It's not coming down. Other technologies are improving. Somehow this technology got stuck someplace. It doesn't get unhinged. We said if you can bring that cost of solar panel from $3 to $1.50, I said I give you a challenge that if you can do that, my part of the bargain would be that I'll make every home in Bangladesh based on solar home system, because it's so much attractive. It becomes immediately. And people understand that, and they will be eager to do that, and it will be good business to bring solar energy in every home, because the oil price hitting the $100 a barrel, you have no way you want to give a second thought about it, because you don't have to use kerosene or anything for lighting for televisions or radio, whatever you got. So that's another area. And that leads me to the other idea, that the kind of business that we run, I have been again and again getting into this subject, because I see that poverty is not created by poor people. It is imposed by the system that we built, and that system is made of all the institutions and policies and concepts that we are dealing with. And one concept repeatedly came for me to talk about is the concept of business. I said the entire economic theory that has produced is a theory of business as a business to make money. That's how the whole economic theory is based on, maximization of profit by the businesses. I said the theoreticians somehow misinterpreted human being, because human beings are not money-making machines the way theory makes us believe. Human being is much bigger than money-making machines. Money-making is a part of human being. It's not the totality of human being. Somehow economists skipped out the most interesting part of human being and only kept the part of money-making. My position is if we have to justify the totality of human being, we have to create at least two kinds of business. We have to add one more business into the theory so that it comes closer to reality. And that will be the business to do good to people rather than personally benefiting from that business. Because it is in the heart of all human beings. But the economists never gave scope, never opened a door through which they can use that urge that we have inside of us. And that social business I define it as a non-loss, non-dividend company with a social objective. And we created several of those companies. Now we are saying that anybody could do that and anywhere it can be done so that we can address the issues that we face. For example, solar energy or renewable energy could be a very attractive social business. Producing a solar panel could be a very attractive social business. The more cheap solar panels you can produce, more you save the planet, because you don't have to go to the fossil fuel-based energy for bringing meeting your energy needs and so on. And many other things. Like we created a company called Grameen Danone Company to produce yogurt. And this is a social business because Danone has agreed they will not take any dividend out of this company. They can withdraw gradually. They can get the initial investment back. And Grameen can take the initial investment back, but never any more dividend, because this is designed to achieve a social objective, and social objective being to bring nutrition to the malnourished children of Bangladesh. There are millions of malnourished children in Bangladesh. And our idea is to put all the micronutrients missing in the malnourished children, the vitamin, iron, zinc, iodine, or whatever, put into the yogurt and then sell it to the children at a price that they can afford, very cheap price, and they will love it because it's very delicious yogurt. And in the process, they will change their health situation. That is the goal. So our bottom line of a social business is to see whether you are achieving your social objective, meaning how many children are regaining health. The more children regain health, the more successful the company is. Unlike the bottom line in the profit maximizing company, where you see what is the rate of return on your investment, how much profit are you making. So that's now you turn it around. You say you're not looking at yourself, you're looking at others. That's what the social business is. If I was running a social business in the USA, probably one of the attractive area for social business here would be to bring health insurance to the 47 million people who don't have health insurance. This would be a very attractive social business, because profit maximizers will never get here because you don't make money. They can make money by producing fancy things which people may not need, but the people take it anyway. We convince them to buy it, and we make money by doing that. But we are not interested in because you need it, but we don't make money. Who cares? There are many vaccines in the world for very, very big diseases, but these are not produced because medicine producers, pharmaceutical companies, don't see it attractive business to produce those vaccines. So people die. So you need a social business to produce this vaccine. You are not giving it charity, but a social business. Whatever it costs, you pay, and that's all you do. So there are many areas in healthcare, in water, for safe drinking water, housing, you name it. You can create so many such social business. One social business, very interesting one, is to create opportunity in the USA, opportunity for people to open bank accounts. Millions of people here in this country cannot have a bank account. As a result, if you have a check, if you receive a check from your employer, you go to the check cashing companies and they rip you off. It's a very funny situation. It's the most sophisticated financial system in the whole world, but millions of people can't even open a bank account. And they have to pay enormously for whatever they have earned by their own work to get it back. Even if it's a government check, still you pay that kind of money. So it's to provide that opportunity is a fantastic kind of social business one can do. Someone in Washington was telling me, very high officials from the administration, I said, do you know where the most thriving business of check cashing go on in this country? I have no idea. He said, it's around the military bases. I said, it's a very shocking news. I never heard of this. Because these young people work for the country to give their life, and they can't check their cash officially. They have to go to check cashing companies, and they can't get their whole salary back to them. This is the reality of the situation. So profit maximizers will have the check cashing companies. Profit maximizers will not come and help you solve your problem. So this is a challenge that we have to face, and we have to think how we create, and we can create social businesses as big, as powerful, as attractive, as efficient as anything you can imagine. So that's the subject of the book that I have written, and I'll stop here and let you ask questions. Thank you very much.
I think it's very ironic that Professor Yunus is talking to us where this belief that has never been true, that any loan to real estate is a good loan, and people thought they were taking collateral. These loans are non-personal recourse that have been made, that it's at the same time that collateral did not prove to be of any value, that Dr. Yunus's collection rates are substantially higher. And it just underlines it's really the individual and the business. It's interesting, last year, small businesses, non-investment grade debt, had the lowest default rate in more than a decade. So at the time that these collateralized loans in the United States had the highest default rate, loans to individuals and small businesses had the lowest default rate. So it's somewhat symbolic here today to address this issue. And in terms of the idea of how do you let people cash their own check, very sad to hear the statements on the military bases as we lead to the first question here. One of the things that, at the other extreme, a young man named Steve Wynn, when he opened his hotel, Wynn Resorts, went to 100% cashless. So all employees were given their own account, and all the money was directly deposited in their own account, so that the majority of their workers, who are many minimum wage workers, did not have any expenses on collecting their money. So there's many solutions, I think, as Dr. Yunus has pointed out, but the importance of the individual, that individual entrepreneur, and we are a country of immigrants, and how important it is to us, not just to Bangladesh. Yes, sir.
Newton's third law, any action has an equal and opposite reaction. What sort of cultural resistance are you running into in this? People, are they complaining about the changes that you're making in their lives? Good changes, but culture.
Yeah. When you do something new, you get into opposition, obviously. If nobody's opposing you, you'll be wondering, am I doing the right thing? So I would say opposition is good, that they're recognizing you are doing something important. And you feel good about it and explain why you're doing it. So we had opposition from academics. They thought it's a silly thing to give loans. This is not development. You're wasting money. You're wasting your time. The economic theory doesn't say that. No textbook ever written here mentioned such a thing. So you are the smartest guy in the world, and you are telling us that. So there's all kinds of opposition in that way. And the religious people opposed because we are giving loans to women, and they said this will create such a devastation in the religion and so on. We explain in religion is very much ingrained, is based on the religion. There is nothing wrong problem in that. Everything else, and the politicians didn't like it. It doesn't fit into the left. It doesn't fit into the right. Where are you? Are you coming from the left? Are you coming from the right? You don't define yourself very well. So again, you are working for the poor people, and then you bring capitalism to them. You are subversive. So many things. So it goes on. It still continues. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yunus. I wanted you to be able to talk a little bit more about the dynamics of social change as you're seeing it. Because in your presentation, you talked about how you're creating and extending banking, and now you're doing it in regard to collaboration with companies like Danone. And so at first you're looking at a new thing, and you were told you can't do it, and now so my question is in regard to companies that are seeing that social business, that results-based business in human terms is an important thing to do. How do you see that playing out?
Well, I get good response from people, from individual people like you and audience here, and also from big businesses. Like we had Danone, it's a big business, came into a tiny little business with us, put their name into it, and they enjoy it. And of all the publicity they get in the world, this little investment they made in Bangladesh, they get the highest attention from everybody. That why did you do it? What is in it for you? And they explained there's nothing in us for us, but for the world. That's what we're doing it. And we don't get any return out of it. And all the theoretical questions they have to face because of that. And then another company came forward, and we are now having a second one with Veolia. This is a big water company in France. It's again huge company, because Bangladesh doesn't have good quality drinking water. It's all arsenic contaminated water, and people are drinking poison literally all over the country. So we have been appealing to everybody, can you come up with an idea how to do that? And they said, we are the water company. We have all the technology. I said, what are you wasting the technology for? Just bottled water for the rich people? So they agreed. They said, we'll do it. And now we are doing it as a social business, bring water to every single person in the village. It's a tiny little plants. So I said, smaller it is, better it is for us. It doesn't take too much investment. You do it, and it serves all the people. And the next village or the next cluster of village has another company, another one, and they compete with each other to compete not to make money, because these are social businesses. To take pride that we are the cheapest and we are the best, and we reach every home. That's one of the pride they want to take. So responses are coming, and we get a lot of such attention. And hopefully many more companies will say, let's do it. And many more individuals say, I have my money, I want to start a social business.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there.
Hi.
I know we've talked about this again, so I was curious why in the book, on your IT section, you don't discuss the phenomena of mobile banking, although there's Telnor and Grameen Bank, biggest company, as you were saying, and microfinance, because it is happening in other parts of the world where those have now combined. M-Pesa in Kenya, we're doing it from very poor communities in California to Mexico, using the cell phone as the medium by which all the transactions, remittances, and microfinance. Is there something about the issues dealing with trying to combine social business with corporations that is part of the problem in terms of launching this in Bangladesh? Is this a broader issue that we can learn from?
Yeah. The reason I didn't mention that, I was not discussing here what's happening in the world. I was just discussing what I'm doing. So things that I didn't do, I didn't have a chance to put it here. So definitely it attracts me a lot, but I have not done it yet. Until I do it and go through it, share the experience of it, I have to wait. So this is why I didn't do that. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering if you could talk about your three laws a little bit, and that whether people should have the right to borrow in the interest rate they see fit. And maybe you could talk about Bangladesh, how Pawnshops are developing there, what the laws are concerning Pawnshops, and also payday loans, whether that exists there as it's expanding.
We have left it to the United States. All the payday loans, everything else. It's Pawnshops. We don't have Pawnshops. That doesn't mean that we don't have loan sharks. We have loan sharks, but we don't kind of put a big sign, it's a pawn shop. People feel embarrassed to call themselves a pawn shop owners. Probably they do it secretly under the table, but still there is a kind of moral stigma that you do such a thing. In Bangladesh, even the loan sharks don't call themselves as money lenders or something. This is again because of feeling that you are hurting the poor people, particularly in our religion. Taking interest is haram. It's a banned. So you don't want to show off that here we are taking not only interest but a predatory interest and so on. So those things are not openly canvassed, openly advertised. Yes, with the Grameen, with the microcredit, many of these businesses went down because everybody has access to microfinance. Today, Bangladesh, which has 150 million people, 80% of the poor families have access to microcredit. And this is the most intensively done microcredit in the whole world. And we are in the move to reach out to 100% of the poor families in the next 4 years. So there, the Pawnshops and other things are not as important anymore as it used to be. Yeah. But as you said, this is a phenomenon in this country which is waiting for social businesses to come and address those issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I saw your presentation at the Said School, and I'm continually inspired by it. But as an entrepreneur in this country, I'm having difficulty coalescing investment sources that understand social entrepreneurship of your ilk. And if you can, maybe just point them out to me if they're in the audience. But where would you go as a social entrepreneur in America so that the base understanding is already there, and you're not like, I don't understand. So you're not going to make profit, but you're going to grow the business. How are you going to do? I don't understand. So that this becomes like this vicious cycle in trying to raise money.
Yeah. To raise money, I would say I feel that you first say you don't make money here, so that all the discussions are over. Then, if you're interested, I can talk about the next part of it.
Okay.
Next part, but you make a big difference in people's life, in the world's life, and so on and so forth. And this is take the example of, say, water. That
Right.
example I gave. You don't make money out of bringing safe drinking water to the people in the villages of Bangladesh, but definitely you change the health situation of those people enormously. And this is one place where if you're interested, you can invest, and you can take your investment money back.
Right.
It's better than charity, because in charity you donate a lot of money around the world for this cyclone or that flood or that disaster. You continue to do that, but there are some money you want to invest as a kind of charity, but this is better than charity, because you keep your money, at the same time get the job done. So your money can recycle. Today you use it for water, tomorrow you do it in nutrition, if you have the same money. So, or you can keep on expanding that business.
Right.
So the social business dollar has endless life. It never disappears, because you recover your cost. So that's the attraction of it. So how you give the message is important in people's mind, that yes, let me do that. Yeah, I can share it. I can join. I can participate in that. First you have to define what is your social goal before you even talk about social business.
Right.
This is my social goal, and this is how I'm going to do it. Are you going to participate with me? I said, okay, I'd like to have a piece of that. I can do that. That's how I think people respond very well. Otherwise, you won't be coming back to hear me again.
Yeah,
It has something. Thank you.
Professor, I'd maybe like to comment a little bit on
please.
that issue. One, we're talking about a person who invests money and gets their money back.
Yeah.
So the rate of return for the outside investor is they got their money back. And if we could properly measure social capital, the creation of social capital, every foundation attempts to say, what is the rate of return on how they invest their money? The Milken Family Foundation focuses on that all the time. But they're attempting to measure the creation of social capital, human capital, other things in measurement. The other issue is there's outside and inside. So you're talking about the outside rate of return. The inside rate of return is that the entity itself, in order to be viable and cover its cost, has to effectively make some profit.
Absolutely.
So I think the confusion there was inside, outside. So the outside investor is helping get something created, creating social and human capital and others, which is the largest part of the United States in any country. Social capital in this country was defined by a man that passed away a number of years ago from the University of Chicago, Dr. James Coleman. It is the school system. It is the health system. It is many other things that Professor Yunus has talked about. Now, inside the entity itself, Grameen Bank is viable because it makes money to allow it to sustain itself to make more loans. And so I think it's important to distinguish the outside from the inside.
Thank you.
Good morning. On the heels of that, actually, as a individual who's maybe looking for social investments, I'm intrigued by the comment that I heard attributed to you about a social stock exchange. I wonder if you can elaborate on that.
Okay. I mentioned that because if I have lots of money, like he has, I can go ahead and do it myself. But not everybody is fortunate enough to have that position. But we want to participate in it. So I have my $1,000 to put in. Who do I give it to? How do I know who is doing what? There is no place. There is no market where I can meet the people who are doing the social businesses, need money, and I have the money looking for social businesses. We need a place to get together. We have the stock exchange. Today, whatever stock exchange we have, this stock exchange is about making money. I'm looking for the other one, doing good. That's not here. So here I come to make myself rich. I'm looking for things which to make a difference. So I think there should be another stock exchange to bring these people together. That's what I'm calling social business, social stock exchange. And I'm also saying that in order to introduce me to all these companies, I need publications. So I'm saying, why not Social Wall Street Journal, which will tell which company is doing better water and helping lots of people, or children's health is changed, safe motherhood, or having reduced the maternal deaths at the time of delivery. They have wonderful system and cost very little, and everybody loves it. And mother saves her life, and the child is alive. And this is a big problem around the world. Mother dies at child's birth. Both mother and child dies at the birth. So nobody does a thing about it. So we can create a social business, bring it to everybody, and they feel comfortable, and they feel good that I've saved mothers and I've saved children. I played a role in it. I put my $1,000 into it. So that's the place we're talking about now.
Professor Yunus, you might just comment on this on an anecdotal example. I think that we could all understand your point maybe a little better. In this city, as in many cities around the country, there are many schools for children with learning disabilities. Some very severe, some not very severe. Are those children for the rest of their life can become wards of the state? Are they going to be in mental hospitals the rest? Can they become productive members of society? And then the best schools in our community, or the best special schools in our community, have a way to get the most, so they have the fullest life possible, most productive lives possible, and actually become contributors to society rather than a cost to society. And it's the lack of proper measurement of that social capital that's been created by that school. And I think this is Professor Yunus's point. If we could properly measure the social capital created for society, then we could easily look at rates of return. Many foundations have given a great deal of money to things that have no rate of return. And so we need probably better measurements to address that issue from that standpoint. There is an area, and maybe Betsy Ziman would like to talk about it for 1 second, but for foundations, they can give money for program activities. They can make investments for programs. So as a foundation, you can actually invest, if it's part of the mission of your foundation, at a zero rate of return, with the objective that it's a furtherance of your program. But I think because we don't measure social rate of return, we have this report at the Institute by Ross Duvall, who's with us, called An Unhealthy America. And because of the enormous weight gain in America, heavily by the poor, it was estimated it cost our country $1 trillion last year. So if we could just find ways to increase health and wellness, we have enormous addition to America and free up a lot of money that could be used for other purposes that is being directed, not just money, but tremendous number of medical professionals that have had to divert what they could have done to take care of all these diseases and things that occur because of the obesity levels in our country. But I think once we and others, and we owe it to Professor Yunus, create these measurements of social capital, it'll be much easier to see the benefits of his efforts from that standpoint.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Professor. Could you please speak to the role of gender, of women, with respect to poverty, and the role of women with respect to the emancipation from poverty? Thank you.
This again and again comes back in all researches that most of the poor families are female-headed families. 60% of the poor families are headed by women. So the poverty is concentrated or is skewed towards women more than is skewed towards men, and they have no opportunities. So opening up those opportunities helps bring the changes within the society, within the families themselves. We started out not because of that reason, not because of the poverty situation. We came out as a kind of our protest in the beginning when I'm struggling with the bankers. It's a protest against the gender bias in the banking. And the point that I raised is not only biased against the poor people, it's also biased against women. Because not even 1% of the borrowers of conventional banks in Bangladesh happen to be women. So there must be something terribly wrong in their system. So I wanted to correct this in my work when I began. I wanted to make sure half the borrowers are women. So it was a long story how to make it half. So I'll skip that. After we achieved that, after 6 years of our work, then we saw money going to the family through women brought so much more benefit to the family. There are certain features in the psyche of women that it works so well when you are trying to pull the family out of poverty. It's stronger than you see in men. So we are not doing the studies or research. It's physically seeing a difference between a family where the mother is the borrower, a family where the father is the borrower. In several respects, the impact is so different. So we changed our policy. So we started focusing on women. Many of the things that happen to Grameen Bank today that I talk about it very proudly, I think it's because most of our borrowers are women. It became so easy, like the sending children to school. Probably couldn't have achieved it as easily as we did, not just in a few families. There's a large number of families. There's 7.5 million families, which is about 37 million people. That could be done because mother was very serious about the children's education. And you take it from there, and many other features that came out in our work is because women took it very seriously about changing their life. They are more serious about getting out of poverty, more stubborn about it than men are. Men are more relaxed about it. They take it because probably by way they live, they are not as sensitive to the situation as women are.
Professor Yunus, Steve Barth with Government Savings Bank in Thailand. It's wonderful to see and hear you again. Professor, credit is sexy, and the story of your first loan is so compelling that it creates this global conversation. But as you and many others have pointed out, it's many other financial services are also needed, savings especially, but also remittances. When global remittances can, for some countries, can be as much as the foreign aid they receive. How do we make these other services as compelling as microcredit so that we can build a more inclusive system?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, this is one. Even if you look at the financial service, there are so many attractive features that we can incorporate. Some of them we did, but in our discussion, somehow we get carried away with the credit part of it, never bring it on the savings part of it. But we started credit and savings together at the same day, not a day later. It was always together. It still is together. The savings from the deposit from the borrowers play a very important role in the life of Grameen Bank. Grameen Bank, all their money comes from deposits in Grameen Bank. So we don't take money from anybody from outside, or not even borrow from the branches borrow from each other. They don't do that. They have enough money. Each branch has enough money to carry on their business. So what we do, they have surplus of deposits than the loan that they make out. The point that I should bring out that 67% of the money which is deposited within Grameen Bank right now comes from the borrowers. So it's not deposits from rich people in the village, which they do, but that's not the majority part. 67% is the borrower's money. In other words, When I give a $100 loan, $67 out of that $100 is their money. And you wonder, why do they take loan if they have the money? 67 cents out of a dollar, why don't they take the remaining money rather than the whole? It's again a question of money management, because her deposits are based on certain packages that they have a return after a few years. And it's very attractive one. One of them is like pension fund. All Grameen Bank borrowers have their personal pension fund, which they are generating so that at old age, they don't have to worry which child will take care of them, which is a tremendous kind of worry for every poor woman. She doesn't know if anybody will feed her when she grows old. Now, within Grameen Bank, they know they can take care of themselves because they have a pension fund. And a pension fund deal is a very simple deal, simple idea, very attractive for them. Whatever money you put into the bank in your pension fund account, say $1 a week or whatever, and you do it for over 10 years. Exactly, put the same amount every week. And 10 years, whatever amount you have put into that account, bank will match you with equal money. That becomes such an attractive proposition for them. Everybody wants to put money as best they can and continue with it, because they see this is a big protection for them. Not only old age, sudden problem of divorce, sudden problem of illness, sudden problem of anything. So this they see as a security blanket for them, that they have this money coming up and growing and so on. And then they have the insurance. There are many insurances within Grameen Bank. We don't go to outside insurance companies. We do the insurance ourselves. One insurance which is very popular insurance is the loan insurance, meaning that if a borrower somehow dies suddenly and leaves behind a huge outstanding loans which he couldn't finish paying back, at the point she dies, entire outstanding loan is written off because the insurance covers it. Insurance is such a tiny piece of it, nobody even notices that there is an insurance component into it, because when you have a large number of people, if you take a tiny bit from each, you create a big amount for coverage of the sudden deaths of everybody. It became so popular, the borrowers kept saying that, well, we feel very good that we have this coverage, but can you include our husband? If the husband dies, it's also a big dislocation in our activities and so on, and we'll pay the same amount. So we said, that's fine. You are paying for yourself, so it's optional. If you want to cover your husband, that's fine. Everybody now covers her husband. So if a husband dies, she's alive, she's going to carry on her business, but the bank writes off all the outstanding loans. And she feels good that at least she can start her life all over again, more strongly than otherwise she would have. So there are insurances for death, for example, a funeral kind of cost. At death, bank provides them X amount of money to take care of all the expenses of funerals and so on. So they feel very safe that the bank is alive to that. So they don't have to pay anything for that. This builds into our system. So they feel good that they have a decent burial at the time of death, and bank show the respect as an owner of the bank. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James McGowan. I'm with a group called Housing Microfinance. And my question actually relates to the relationship between profit maximization and social good. We're focused on the housing issue, and as you're aware, is an enormous need, and it's an enormous hole in the market. It's been estimated that there are $9 trillion by Hernando de Soto of property that's held by the lowest income people in the world without access to finance. So how can you mobilize the trillions of dollars that are needed to make that work? And doesn't profit have to be part of that equation? We're part of a structure that we're putting together that is 80% for-profit, and about 20% of it has non-profit maximizing actors who are collaborating together with global investment banks to bring this money to microfinance institutions. Is that a model that can work within your worldview?
Yeah. Within Grameen Bank, we also have housing loans. We started back in 1984. And our housing loan got the Aga Khan Award for Architecture in 1989. So it's a very significant event for us. Two things to mention about it. the interest on how, first of all, the money that we give for housing loan also comes from our own deposits. So we don't go out to seek funds from anybody. We have plenty of money to give out for loans for housing. This is one. Number two, the interest rate on housing is also interesting. We take 8% interest on housing loan, which is way below than 20% that we charge on their income generating loan. Our minimum interest rate on deposits that we pay is 8.5% and goes all the way to 12%. When we give the housing loan, we lose money. So we are not talking about profit. We lose money here. We compensate it with 20% that we charge on the highest point. So this minimum interest rate is below the minimum interest rate, 8%. And this is how we did it, and it works fine with us. We still make profit. Bank stays afloat, and people are happy that they have a housing loan and build a house for themselves. And housing is an extremely important part of poor people's life, because the housing is a terrible situation. Our housing includes, when we say house, it includes a sanitary latrine, which is because very important for them, the kind of house they build with a sanitary latrine and a drinking water tube well and so on. So this is how we addressed it, and within the framework of microfinance, this can be handled. And their payment is weekly in installment, again.
In cultures of poverty, it's often the women who are raising the family and doing the work. And I wonder if, whereas, it's great that there are that many women involved in the system, I wonder if there's some way to create a better balance and to give some dignity to the men so they can be more involved, so they can have the microloans, start their businesses, and then create, more harmony and equality in raising the family.
Yeah. What we do is, again, in the short presentations, we can't give all the details. Women is the representative of the family. Anybody in the family can borrow from Grameen Bank, including the husband. So she said, my husband needs this. I need so much money for my husband. She can do that. So husband is not excluded. We don't want to give the impression we just deal with the woman and everybody else is excluded. That's not how it does. Conventionally, it's the man who does everything on behalf of the family. Here we take woman as the representative of the family, and she deals with the rest of the family. So that's not excluded. And if somebody wants to create a microcredit bank focusing on men, it's okay. I mean, as I said, how we got involved with it, why we did it, it's welcome. I mean, I'm the one who keeps talking about insisting that credit should be accepted as a human right. So we are not distinguishing between men, women, or children or anything. Again, to bring it back on the housing and your question, when we give housing loan, we insist, right from the beginning, we insisted that the land on which the house is built must belong to the borrower, because after all, we are giving you the loan, so the land must be yours. Knowing fully well that the woman don't own the land, because she's a married woman, she lives with her husband, it's a husband's house. The law, if they own a homestead land, it belongs to her husband. We said, no, we cannot accept that. It has to be in your name. So she has to go around, persuade her husband, and the husband comes to us, says, why do you do this? We try to explain why we do that and make it a little bit easy for him. And finally, he yields to that, because housing is such an important thing. They cannot say, we don't need the house. They can't say that. So finally, he has to go through all the complicated procedure of handing over the title of the land to the wife. And when wife brings that title to us, we give her a loan, and she builds the house. I was mentioning divorce. In Bangladesh, divorce is a very common phenomenon, particularly in the poor families. And in those houses built with Grameen loans, divorce became extremely rare. And everybody keeps quiet about it. If any government had to make a law such thing, that government will be thrown out of office right away. But we did it in a way that nobody felt bad about it, but it protected the women, because women are so insecure. She could be thrown out of the house anytime husband wants. And it's a very simple procedure, how to get rid of the wife, how to divorce a wife, and so on. So, and this, she knows that whatever happens, this is her house. And husband knows it well. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.